All right, good evening. I'd like to call to order this regular meeting of the Round Lake Area School District 116 Board of Education on March the 14th at 7 p.m. If I can, let me get started with a roll call, please.
Mrs. Klingler?
Here.
Miss Lee?
Here.
Mr. Devera?
Here.
Mr. Francisco?
Here.
Mr. Dewitt?
All right, we have a full roll call. First up, we actually have an absence with Mrs. Negrete McGinley being absent. We need to have a Secretary Pro Tem. Can I get a motion to appoint a Secretary Pro Tem?
I'd like to make a motion to appoint Kevin DeVera as Secretary Pro Tem.
Seconded. Motion by Mrs. Klingler, seconded by Mr. Francisco. Any questions? Roll call, please.
Mr. Dewitt?
Yes.
Mr. Francisco?
Yes.
Miss Lee?
Yes.
Mr. Devera?
Yes.
Mrs. Klingler?
Yes.
And motion carries. Thank you, Mr. DeVera, for stepping in. Next up is the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, first up is approval of our meeting agenda. We do have an agenda in the packet. Everyone should have reviewed it. Any questions in regards to that? If I can, let me get a motion to approve the meeting agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Klingler, seconded by Mr. Jewett. Any questions? Roll call, please.
Mr. Francisco?
Yes.
Mr. Devera?
Yes.
Miss Lee?
Yes.
Mr. Dewitt?
Yes.
Mrs. Klingler?
Yes.
Motion carries. We have an approved agenda. And first up on that are the special recognition and presentations. And it looks like we have our Eagle Scout project donation to Beach School families.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing us to come this evening and to speak to you. I am here with.
Do you want to introduce yourself?
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right. I know you.
Yes.
But just want to make sure everybody does.
Yes, I'm Trina Metz, principal at Beach Elementary School. I am honored to continue my work with the Eagle Scout troop, or project with the troop. And I have with me tonight Isaac, who is a student here at Round Lake High School. And he took on the project of making individual student desks. Started this project during our remote learning and saw it to the end, delivered these desks for students that were in need at home of having an individual workspace for themselves. They're beautiful. I have had even staff members say, how do I get one of those for my house? Gorgeous work, heavy duty. So we are so honored and thankful to have partnered with Isaac and his troop for this very special project.
I would like to thank everybody for allowing me to finish my Eagle project and allowing me to help the students, of Beach Elementary.
Isaac, how long did it take for you to, and how many desks did you make?
We made 15 desks, and it took basically all summer.
How did you get the design?
My dad, over there, he had made this the desk a few years ago when I first started high school for me so that I can have a place to do my homework and stuff. And I noticed that, it never broke, it never wiggled, it was perfect. So I was like, it would be a really good idea to give them out to students in Beach so that they can do their e-learning, because not everybody has this place to do their work, especially if they have brothers like me. I have 4 siblings. We had to fight over space and everything. So it really did help, and I really do hope it did help the other students there.
Well, we're just unbelievably grateful for you and your dad and Definitely a high level service, so it's very special. Eagle Scout projects are like a big deal. So on behalf of the board, we want to thank you, and we're going to embarrass you a little bit. We're going to get your dad up here, and we're going to take a picture with you.
Okay, that's great. Yeah.
Those are definitely part of the best parts of the board meetings. Absolutely.
Miss Metz, we'll get that. How do we get it back to Isaac? Okay, so we'll get it to Principal Barry. Is that cool? Okay.
So look at already trying to delegate and throwing out Barry in there.
Yeah.
All right, next up we have the RLHS Fine Arts Student Recognition Future Music Educator Symposium, IMEA.
Hello, my name is Chrissy Ketchtori. I'm the District Fine Arts and Activities Coordinator here at the in this district. One of the best parts of my job is to work with the students and the coaches and the directors on the amazing things that our students do. So it's my honor to introduce Mr. West, who will tell you a little bit about Peter, the recipient of this accolade.
Hello, everyone. I am Mike West, band director at the high school. Good to see all of you. With us today is Peter Meckler, who has been in our fine arts program for a very long time, plays baritone in our concert bands and our top ensemble, Wind Symphony, also plays trumpet in our jazz band and drum major of our marching band this past year. And Peter was one of 40 students in the state to be selected for the Future Music Educators Seminar. And so that's through our Illinois Music Educators Association. And so what Peter had to do was an interview application process that's submitted via video in the fall, and they review all these and select students to be part of this seminar. And if COVID was not a thing, Peter would have gone down to Peoria and partaken in a series of clinics and workshops and be part of some of the same clinics that Mr. Weber, Mr. Olson, and myself take part of at the end of January to become better teachers and get to see firsthand what that's like at our state conference. And Peter joins just a few others from the school that have been chosen from this seminar as well before. Maybe you recall Bobby Rowe and John Liu in past years. They partook in the same thing, but this is a great honor. And if you know Peter at all, it's no surprise at all of how much he helps people and how much he serves our community. Very deserving of this honor. So thank you for recognizing him tonight. I'll let you guess too where he's going to school next.
Thank you.
Still up.
Don't get too
More
comfortable.
pictures,
We have
more
another
pictures.
picture to go. About 3 years ago, I believe it was, Mr. Warren started at the high school, and he was very passionate about starting a chess team here at the school. And then COVID hit, and kind of things slightly fizzled out, but not for this group of students. They were able to do a lot virtually and a lot working together. And ultimately, we're able to go to state this year. So I'll let Mr. Warren and Mr. Miller explain to you how that happened.
All right, thank you, everybody. Yeah, when I got to Round Lake, this is my third year. I started this as sort of just something I was passionate about, and I've been so gratified for so many reasons, but mainly just the type of response I've gotten from the students and the fact that I've just been able to see this chess team turn into something that has been meaningful to so many people other than myself. So Mr. Miller, Nick Miller, has been with me as assistant coach from the beginning. And then we have about 3/4 of our team here. So we've got Jackson, Carly, Alan, Andrew, Brooke, Daniel, Jared, Gio, and Caesar. We've got a few more who couldn't make it tonight, but yeah, I'm just so grateful for, especially since we qualified for state, we've received just such an outpouring of support from the district and from everybody. So really appreciate it, and just to be honored here is really meaningful to us. So we expect to continue to grow, and thank you so much for everything.
All right, next up, we're going to continue with communications to the board. And the first one is our BPAC update, and I believe it's Mrs. Patino that we're up with.
Good evening. My name is Guadalupe Patino. Ms. Alfaro asked me to present a BPAC report tonight because she had to travel to Mexico. Here is our BPAC report. Number 1, we have 100 parents that continue attending our mental health and substance abuse seminary at the Cultural Civic Center and via Zoom. We continue learning about these important topics because we want to learn how to help our children and our families. Number 2, we just started art classes with Miss Diana Nava, BPAC volunteer. She's helping us create simple art pieces with our children. Art material were donated. Art is helping us how to deal with stress. Number 3, on April 8, BPAC, in collaboration with Brushwood Ryerson Center, is hosting a free community concert at the Cultural Civic Center from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. Music and a sense of community is also helping us in the healing process after a pandemic. Thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you. All right, next up is our CEDAW Governing Board recap. Mr. Jewett.
Yeah, there are two main things. The board meeting itself took probably less time than the commute there and back. But there were, one was a public comment, and it was from one of the nurses about staffing in general, and they're really struggling with staffing. So it's just something I think for us to keep aware of. That was a piece. And the second one was a presentation by the CEDAW Foundation. But outside of that, there wasn't anything else.
Any questions for the recap? Hearing none, thank you very much, Mr. Jewett, and we will now move on to our school improvement plan monitoring update.
Good evening. I'm Beth Kiewitz, and I'm bringing you the school improvement updates. As you remember, in the fall, we brought you the school improvement plans for approval. I'll remind you, every school has the same 3 overarching goals, and then they came up with worthy targets, which are the way their specific schools are going to work towards those targets. We've utilized the same color coding system that we use with the strategic plan to make it easy for you. And as you look through this, everyone is really on track. A few schools have done some little shifts based on their data. For example, the EEC saw the students weren't really achieving at the rate at which they wanted to, so they tweaked it. They're putting in different interventions and things so that the students can accelerate their pace of growth. Some of the schools felt that they met a worthy target. I think it was Brown Lake Middle School and Village on goal 3, which is the SEL goal. And it's really just achieving universal standards. So what we'll see next time when we come back to you for our final monitoring update is that those schools will probably show a shift, because if they've achieved something, they need to keep moving on in that direction. Does anyone have any questions?
I just have a comment for the board. I think it's my 9th year in the district, and I don't think we've ever been this. I think just our school improvement process is as good as it's been in a long time. I want to thank Kurt and Beth specifically, as well as the other members of the teaching and learning team. But there's been 2 work sessions, I call them, so far this year. I've attended, I think, half days on both, and essentially it's an opportunity for us to get our principals in a room together with their plans available. Eileen Arisman, who's our data person, has achievement data, and they're literally presenting and talking about their plans. And the biggest benefit of that is they get to learn from each other. We know we have different schools. We do want to recognize the uniqueness of each individual school without creating a situation where a child's learning experience is based on where they go to school. Like, we don't want that. We want the same learning outcomes. So I just really want to thank Kurt and Beth specifically for the work that they have and continue to do in providing oversight for our school improvement process. It's been really good. So.
Hearing no additional questions, thank you very much, Mr. Bureau. If it's not been colored in.
Some of them, yeah. They've only colored in where the worthy target is. Next to the goal, it's just white. They won't fill that in until they've achieved all of the worthy targets underneath. So if it's white, it's just next to where it says, for example, goal 1, the square is white. They're actually working on the worthy targets, which are their action steps to achieve the goal. So technically, none of them should be filling in next to their goal unless they've actually achieved that goal. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Some of them have more than one worthy target towards a goal. As schools are identified, some of them as special subgroups. For example, some are looking at special ed, some are looking at the LL learners. So they felt and there may be other reasons too, different steps to reach that goal. They felt they needed more action steps. Whereas you'll see some schools, like Beach only has one worthy target for their goals. Other schools have multiple. It just depends on how their team felt they needed to break down the work to achieve the overarching goal.
But for example, Kurt, on goal one at the high school, they have a target connected to mastery learning and there's no color in it. That's what I think maybe Mr. Jewett said. Is that like not been started or what? Is it an error? We omitted a color?
Yeah, I believe it's an error. I'll double check with Mr. Barry and I can let you guys know. But I know they've been working on that. In fact, I've had multiple conversations with Mr. Nicholas regarding that. So I will double check and we can put that in a weekly.
Yeah, and check on goal 3 because there's another one there that's not colored also. So good catch, Mr. Jewett.
Good eye, good eye.
Using the same overarching goals next year, but their worthy targets will be tweaked based upon their data and the success they feel they've used to go to meet those. So
Yeah, it's totally fine. Kurt, get clarification and we'll send it in a weekly. Okay?
Thank you. Good catch. All right, next up is a review of the FOIA report. We had the FOIA report in there for the board. Everyone had a chance to review that. Any questions in regards to that? Hearing none, we will move on then to contracts under 1,000. Not seeing anything there. Then we will move on to opportunities for public comment. As always, members of the public may participate in public comment during regular board meetings by attending in person or by submitting electronic public comment form. Please note that speakers are limited to 3 minutes. A link to the electronic public comment form can be found in the electronic packages, and electronic public comments will be accepted up to and the time the board reaches the public comment section of the meeting agenda, which is now. Do we have any electronic public comment? Hearing no electronic public comment, I will open it up to the floor. Do we have any public comment? Please step up and introduce yourself. Thank you as always.
Good afternoon. My name is Jesus Grifaldo. I'm a member of the community. I got a son in a son in middle school and a daughter in early education. I would like to say thank you to the board for giving us these opportunities to present young kids with amazing proposals to help the community. I was part of a mentor to him and I'm really proud of him. And we're trying to push as many kids to become successful, and I seen the change on Round Lake. I seen kids that my mom babysit. Now that they're actually teachers and teaching our daughters and sons. I'm really proud of my community. I would like to say thank you to Dr. Mendoza, to Mr. Francisco, to everybody. I'm really proud of Round Lake. Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional public comment? All right, hearing none, then we will move on to the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Board President Francisco and Board of Education. The district will host its first district-wide parent university on Thursday, March 24th from 6 to 8 p.m. The event will be held in person at Round Lake High School. Sessions will focus on the Infinite Campus Parent Portal. Additional video resources will be provided for families who are unable to attend or to refer to at a later date. This event has been coordinated by the Action Faction Community Connections Committee and the Round Lake Area School District 116 Parent Advisory Committee. The Lake County Regional Office of Education will host its inaugural Educator of the Year Awards banquet on Wednesday, May 4th, 2022, 5:30 p.m. at the Lake County Fairgrounds. Nominations are being accepted for the following categories. Round Lake Area School District 116 intends to submit several nominations for this award. Elementary early childhood teacher, middle school teacher, high school teacher, diverse learner teacher, school administrator, student support personnel, educational service personnel, early career educator, and private and parochial. The following donations have been made to the district and schools. In accordance with board policy, we are informing the board of these donations at this time. Thank you letters will be prepared for each donor. Instruments were donated by Marie Newby in honor of her father, Donald Newby. And art sketch pads were donated to the John T. McGee Middle School Art Program by Canon. That concludes the superintendent's report.
And just as a reminder to the board for that Lake County School District Educator of the Year Award on May 4th, if you can put it on your calendar, our own Dr. Mendoza will be recognized at that one as well. So definitely try to put that on your calendars if you can. I know he didn't want me to bring that up, but I just did anyway. Thank you, Dr. Mendoza. Any questions for the superintendent's report? Hearing none, now we will move to some approvals and the approval of open minute meetings.
All right, I need a motion to approve the minutes of the February 22nd, 2022 Board of Education special meeting.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Ms. Lee, seconded by Mrs. Klingler. Any questions? Roll call, please.
Mr. Jewett,
Yes.
Mr. De Vera,
Yes.
Ms. Lee,
Yes.
Mrs. Klingler,
Yes.
Mr. Francisco.
Yes. And motion carries.
I need a motion to approve the minutes of the February 28th, 2022 regular meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Klingler, seconded by Mr. Jewett. Roll call, please.
Ms. Lee,
Yes.
Mrs. Klingler,
Yes.
Mr. Francisco,
Yes.
Mr. Jewett,
Yes.
Mr. De Vera,
Yes.
And motion carries.
Okay, I need a motion to approve the consent agenda items, which include the accounts payable report for $330,020.40 and the March 14th, 2022 employment report as listed.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Francisco, seconded by Mr. Jewett. Any questions? Roll call, please.
Mr. De Vera,
Yes.
Mr. Jewett,
Yes.
Ms. Lee,
Yes.
Mr. Francisco,
Yes.
Mrs. Klingler,
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, I need a motion to approve the 2022-2023 student fees as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Klingler, seconded by Mr. Jewett. Did anyone have any questions in regards to the final fees resolution? Any questions, clarifications before we move to a vote?
No questions, just a reminder that we did review this last finance and last regular meeting, and finance supports it.
Hearing none, then we will move to a roll call, please.
Mrs. Klingler,
Yes.
Mr. Jewett,
Yes.
Ms. Lee,
Yes.
Mr. De Vera,
Yes.
Mr. Francisco,
Yes. And motion carries.
All right, I need a motion to approve the referenced school board policy proposed changes.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Klingler, seconded by Mr. Jewett. Before we get into a roll call, did we have some clarifications from our last meeting? Ms. Bennett, take it away.
So during the last meeting, during the second reading, there were some questions related to Board Policy 660, curriculum content. I did follow up in the weekly update, but just wanted to go through those updates here in public as well. So there was a question related to Question 2, and the manner in which the district communicates about our sex education curriculum offered. So administration's recommendation at this time is to select option 2, which changes no process. It does not change our process in any way from what we have today as far as the sex ed curriculum is concerned. We are still waiting for those standards to be released by ISB, and once that's completed, DJ and Learning will review that information, and if we need to make additional changes at that time, we will. And we'll bring that forward to the board. Any questions on that specific item? Okay, the other question was related to same policy and whether the board wanted to require offering the unit of instruction in grades 9 through 12 about the process of naturalization. So the default proposal and administration was also recommending to answer no to that option. This gives the department some flexibility in providing that in their content and within the curriculum, but it does not require them to do so. We have a whole lot of things that are mandated within this policy, and not to diminish the importance of this subject, but if we have an opportunity not to add something that is not required, in most cases we will not do so. So any questions on that specific item?
Any additional questions in regards to any of the second readings and the adoptions? Perfect. Then roll call, please.
Miss Lee,
Yes.
Mr. De Vera,
Yes.
Mr. Francisco,
Yes.
Mr. Jewett,
Yes.
Mrs. Klingler,
Yes.
And motion carries. All right, next up we have new business and the approval of the Atlas Rubicon West Curriculum Warehouse Contract.
Hi, I'm Sarah Fontana, the ELA and Literacy Coordinator, and I'm representing Teaching and Learning on this contract for the Atlas Curriculum Warehouse. I did present to the Finance Committee at our last meeting on this warehouse. So we are looking for a 39-month contract with Atlas, and what this service provides is a digital online warehouse to house all of our curricular materials. This is in regard to like our standards, our rubrics, our assessments. Right now, we house them in Google, on Canvas, people's personal computers, everything is saved there. So what we are doing, although that will still be accessible on Google Docs, Word Docs, etc., but we will provide one area for a teacher to go. This is particularly helpful for our elementary school teachers who teach 4 content areas. So that way they don't have to go to Google to find social studies and go to Canvas to find ELA and so forth. So it really is just more of a housing and organizational tool. And our plan is to roll this out for elementary next school year. And then in year 2, we will roll it out for secondary. So it does take some onboarding to build all of our materials and our unit plans within this system. Are there any particular questions?
I was just wondering, in the future, is it wise to gravitate towards one system, like either Google or Canva or?
So we will still be using those platforms, but this is more or less like housing where the teacher goes and they click on the link and it will take them to Google where you might have created a document. So this isn't a tool where we actually build assessment or curriculum materials. If anyone's used Google Suite and Google Drive, it becomes a black hole, if you will, and people share documents and it becomes really challenging to find materials. So this really simplifies it for the teacher. New teacher comes in, they could click on first grade ELA and they'll say Unit 1 and they'll see the standards, they'll see the rubrics, and they'll know exactly where to click to find all of that information. So it will take them there. Each of the portals, such as Google or Canvas and so forth, have different pros and cons, but they're not all perfect for all the different types of assessments that we house and so forth. So using that as the one tool to house it isn't as efficient, where this can handle all of those different systems that are currently in play.
I would just like to add, finance does support this as well, so.
Any additional questions? All right, we have a motion.
I need a motion to approve the Atlas Rubicon West Curriculum Warehouse contract in the amount of $67,733.75.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Jewett, seconded by Ms. Lee. Any additional questions? Roll call, please.
Miss Klingler,
Yes.
Mr. Dewitt,
Yes.
Miss Lee,
Yes.
Mr. De Vera,
Yes.
Mr. Francisco.
Yes. And motion carries. All right, next up, we have Dr. Gibbons.
Fun with finance. Just a reminder, Board, at the Finance Committee meeting last month, Tammy Beckwith-Shalmo, Senior Vice President of PMA, and I had shared information about refunding a potential placement of our bonds. We are looking to take advantage of some of the historical low interest rates that are going on, and the next step in the process for us to do that would be for the Board of Education to approve a parameters resolution. We have sent out an RFP to several financial institutions, and I will tell you the rates are extremely competitive. I think you'll be very pleased with some of the numbers you'll see that come back that potentially could have even more of a cost savings to the district. Just as a reminder, we are retaining the same amount of term on these bonds. We are not extending them out any further, just simply refinancing for a lower interest rate, which will certainly help our community and also our debt profile. So that this is a formality. Potentially, we may need to bring a second parameters updated resolution if we're able to split the bonds between two financial institutions, which would be even more of a cost savings. We're prepared to do so. And if that is the case, there would be an updated parameters resolution at the following meeting. Any questions about refunding or replacement of our bonds?
And again,
Oh, yeah, finance supports, yeah, obviously.
perfect. Well, I don't hear any questions, so I think we have a motion.
Okay, I need a motion to approve the parameters resolution as presented from District Bond Council of Chapman and Cutler.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Klingler, seconded by Mr. Jewett, and I think we had one quick question.
It was just a side question. Is refunding different than refinancing?
Yes, it is. If we were to stay within our same financial institution, it would be a refund. But if we are going to refinance out of there, it becomes a refinance.
Details in finance. Roll call, please.
Miss Lee,
Yes.
Mr. Francisco,
Yes.
Mr. Dewitt,
Yes.
Mr. De Vera,
Yes.
Mrs. Klingler.
Yes.
And the motion carries. All right, next up, we have the approval of the district infrastructure refresh utilizing E-rate.
I can cover this. So the technology department, primarily Craig Albers, worked with our E-rate consultant and Dr. Gibbons to publish an RFP for this scope of work. We published it, we received 3 proposals. We scored it consistent with our evaluation criteria, and I'm here tonight to ask for us to move forward with a recommended contract with 22 vets for the total cost of $711,751.89, of which the district is eligible for 85% reimbursement.
Any questions from the board?
Finance supports.
All right, hearing no questions, I believe we have a motion.
I need a motion to approve the contract with 22 vets for the refreshing of the district's network infrastructure as defined in the published E-rate RFP.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Lee, seconded by Mrs. Klingler. Any additional questions? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Klingler,
Yes.
Mr. Devera,
Yes.
Mr. Jewett,
Yes.
Mr. Francisco,
Yes.
Miss Lee,
Yes.
And the motion carries. All right, next up is a talent space contract.
David Buster's.
Oh, sorry, David Musters. My fault.
You threw me for
Trying
a
to
loop
skip
there.
you. Trying to skip you. My bad.
Don't know anything about Talent Space, sorry. This is Dave and Buster's for Round Lake High School. Pre-pandemic, we used this activity as a decision day for students that were choosing to go to college. We wanted to expand that, make it part of our senior awards activities. So this does allow for a number of our seniors that have earned awards to participate in a fun activity, which will be very refreshing for this group post-pandemic. So any questions?
I don't think so. I definitely love the idea of building it up as an entire group. So thank you for that.
Okay. I need a motion to approve the Dave and Buster's contract.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Francisco, seconded by Mrs. Klingler. Any additional questions? Roll call, please.
Miss Lee,
Yes.
Mr. Devera,
Yes.
Mr. Jewett,
Yes.
Mr. Francisco,
Yes.
Mrs. Klingler,
Yes.
And motion carries. Now we're up to the talent space contract. Ms. Bill Ciotis.
Thank you. So I'm asking the board to approve the talent space contract. Obviously, over the past couple of years, we've seen the benefits of hosting a virtual job fair. So we'd like to expand our recruiting opportunities and be able to offer this to the community and also to any of our students that we've been visiting with during the job fairs over the past couple of weeks. I think this is a great opportunity, and we would open it up to all positions.
Any questions?
I need a motion to approve the Talent Space virtual job fair contract in the amount of $4,000.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Francisco, seconded by Miss Lee. Roll call, please.
Mr. Jewett,
Yes.
Mrs. Klingler,
Yes.
Mr. Devera,
Yes.
Miss Lee,
Yes.
Mr. Francisco,
Yes. And motion carries. Thank you. All right, next up, we are to positive occurrences. Take it away, Mrs. Klingler.
I have some. Sir, there's actually several. So, we had actually, as you know, Miss Chris Cacciatore planned it so that we had the music events both Thursday and then Saturday. I don't know if you guys got to go, but it was outstanding. Both of them. I was actually very impressed, in particular with the younger children, the fifth graders. How good they were, how well rounded they were when they were playing their instruments, and how well behaved they were after all this time they've been away from the school. So, I won't lie, I was emotional actually a few times at both performances. So, I was just delighted by that, and I'm sorry if anybody was going to mention that, but it was just really nice to see an in-person musical gathering again. Then we had Guard go to the competition afterwards. Junior varsity placed second, and then varsity placed third, missing second by 0.04 of a point again. So that happened. And then we also had outgoing track meet actually in Glenview, I believe it was, and we had some pretty good performances there as well. So I wanted to call that out because I don't point out the athletics as much as I want to. So there was a lot of really good things going on. That was my 2 cents.
I will second BandFest. I missed BandFest so much. I missed it. My son's senior year we canceled it right before. It's such a great opportunity to see all the students in the district perform, and my 8th grader I don't think has performed since 5th grade. So it was great to see all of the support in the stands for all of the kids.
And the scary part is when he participated in that fifth grade was the last time you had all three of them at the same event. I know we were the same way.
I had one solo child this time instead of three.
I had to point out, I thought it was super cool too that they pointed out the solo and ensemble performances that were exemplary. And I know it's a shameless plug because my kid was in it, but I did think that was actually kind of a cool addition to that. I don't know if they did that before, if I don't remember, because it's been like 20 years, but I just thought that was really cool too.
I'll just throw out there, it's great to see all the spring sports starting to pick up, track and field. As already stated, girls soccer has first game, I think, on the 16th. It's a home game. So definitely want to make sure you get out if you can. But also baseball, softball, track, the whole 9 yards. So again, just great to see everything kind of coming back to life, so to speak. And the fact that we have the facilities for it, and that's why we put the money into those facilities. So across the board, whether it's band, music, chess club, as we've seen, the number of state participants, it's just it's great. It's great to be around. Any additional input? Hearing none, we'll move to future agenda items. Anybody have future agenda items they want to get addressed by the administration? All right, hearing none on that, then we will take a motion to go into closed session as permitted by statute 5 ILCS 120/2 for the purpose of discussing employment matters, 5 ILCS 120/2C1, and closed meeting minutes, 5 ILCS 120/2C21. And we will not have anything in open. We will not come back out into open. So this will end the open session for the evening. So do I have a motion to go into closed?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Klingler, seconded by Mr. Jewett. Roll call, please.
Mr. De Vera,
Yes.
Miss Lee,
Yes.
Mr. Jewett,
Yes.
Mr. Francisco,
Yes.
Mrs. Klingler.
Yes.
All right, we will be in closed session. So thank you very much, everyone, for attending online, for attending in person. We look forward to seeing you again at our next meeting, which I don't have on the calendar right this second, but April 2nd.
Oh, 21st.
March next week. So see that's why. March 21st. We'll see you back the same bat time, same bat channel. There we go.